Hey, Stockhouse. Today is July the 18th. Time for another edition of Markets in Motion. Thought it would be worthwhile. We always talk about sell in May and go away to just look at seasonality and some rotation because we've seen a bit of both of that happening here in the markets. So if we look at the seasonality for the S&P 500, you can see there's a bit of a dip here in June, which is exactly what we saw. And then we tend to see fairly strong performance right up until August. Tends to go sideways a little bit, and then maybe a little bit of back and forth until October, and then we see that trajectory. And of course, this is not exactly what we would know to be the fact. This is like looking at the climate, and we know that the actual weather changes on any given day. So we're just looking at what the long term is. This is like a 20-year range of what typically has happened with the markets. Looking at the TSX, well, we can see here, fairly similar pattern as well, in that, we saw probably a little bit more down in June. See the sort of first part of July go up and then down towards, and then it moves higher into August sideways, and then a little bit of chop before we move into year end. Again, this is just that climate, not the actual weather. The weather changes day to day. This is something from our research partner Hedgeye that I thought was interesting, and they talk about, their quads, and the best quads really are quad 1 and quad 2. This is where we see growth or inflation or both accelerating, and you can see here that we've just come through this period of quad 1, 2, 3, which has been very strong for the market. We're now experiencing this monthly quad 4 before we head back into a seasonal time where we're going to see stronger quads for the next few months. So what I would expect is that this weakness that we're seeing right now in certain sectors of the market probably starts to dissipate as we head through July and head into August. And it could be, again, fairly strong markets for the rest of the year heading into to February next year if our friends at Hedgeye are right with their work. What have we seen from a rotation standpoint? Well, this is looking at value, US value, and this is looking at US growth. And what we have seen is for so many years, growth has outperformed value. And now that looks like we're just seeing a bit of temporary change here. So the last few months, we've seen growth heading down, value heading up, and we're actually seeing that in the underlying securities, that's for sure. And I'll show that chart in a second. We're also looking at it from a size standpoint. We've seen large dominate for quite some time now, for quite a long time. And now we're starting to see the mid caps and the small caps. They've been a little bit weaker here of late. Looks like they're going to start to regain control again. So taking over for that, perhaps Mag 7, and we'll see that 493, that drill down into the 493, where we're going to continue to see performance. And that really has to do with earnings. We've seen those stronger earnings, and that's been what's driving the small caps in the markets for sure. When we look at US sectors, you can see here that it's quite a log jam here. You can see technology is still in the leading quadrant when it's rolling over, and we've really seen that specifically if we look at the semiconductor and the chip stocks. And then if we look at the rest of the market, we're not seeing everything improving, but we're seeing a lot that's improving. So these are the two that are kind of interesting right now, excuse me, which are healthcare and then financials. And both those are clearly value sectors, which goes back to that value versus growth that I just showed a second ago. And they're heading up, which is typical of what we would see in one of Hedgeye's quad 4 environments. We'll have to really watch and see if we see that transition again to, maybe some more of the industrials, and then also technology as we head towards August. That's it for this week, everyone. Have a great week. Take care.